Good morning, YouTube. How's everybody going? It's Alan. Nice to meet you again. And welcome back to Mine Mogul, a game about, well, building up a mine. As per last episode, I may have had a bit of problems. If you watched it, you might know that. So, today we're going to start off by just showing you what I did with the, what I did after I lost the footage. As you can see, there's a little bit of a change with the factory. Mostly, it's just these wall conveyor belts here. All the conveyor belts that I had have been swapped out with the wall conveyor belts. Pretty easy, pretty simple to understand there, though I did do a little bit of rearranging. I've added the mergers here that I may or may not have told you about in the last episode, or one of the previous episodes. Basically just adding various mergers to all of the various spots here to make it slightly more efficient and less likely that something would fall through the cracks, quite literally. I also went about and added these smart splitters to various locations to make it so that, well, places like my smeltery here don't get overloaded. I also added some chutes, so that way the few things that do have to drop down don't have to drop down and run the risk of falling off the belt. And I guess one last thing is all the lights. The place is lit up. Completely and totally lit up. Well, not completely lit up, but it's lit up a lot more than it was. Everything is now a lot brighter around here. Now, as I've said in previous episodes, you don't have to do this. You don't have to go and make everything lit up. But it does help a little bit. It does make it so that should, say, something start clogging up for some stupid reason, if it happens to do it while it's in the middle of a dark area, you can at least see that there's a clog happening, instead of just, well, ignoring it. Not to mention, it just makes the whole place look better. And yeah, that's pretty much all I did with the lost footage, is just replaced all of the normal belts with the wall conveyor belts. Now, normally what I like to do when I'm done with the normal conveyor belts, I just drop them. I don't bother keeping them in my inventory because realistically, honestly, I'm never really going to use them ever again. I just don't bother. And for some reason you can't get rid of them any other way than just dropping them out of your inventory. If you don't drop them out of your inventory, it's just taking up space that really isn't needed to be taken up. So I just drop them. Alrighty. So, what is our game plan for this episode? Well, that is quite simple. I decided that not only am I going to set up that copper area that I told you guys earlier, but I'm also going to expand the gold area over there just slightly. Nothing too serious, nothing too crazy. I'm just going to do a little bit of work over there just to fill it up a little bit more and get a few more resources. And I'm also going to do a little bit more exploring because there are a few places over there that I do want to go and see how they look now that the well, various other stuff's been uh, destroyed or whatnot, the nodes and such. Because as you might have noticed the first couple episodes, the nodes tend to hide secret areas, and it's a good idea to, at the very least, go and grab those secret areas because they tend to have, well, resources that are probably beyond what you currently can mess about with. So, yes, not a half bad idea to go and do that. And I knew I was forgetting something. Gonna need one of these, gonna need, yeah, several of those. One of those. Already got those, need one of those. And yes, I believe that should be more than enough for what I need. Start with, I'm gonna do the easy thing first. And I'm just gonna go over here and I'm just gonna expand this slightly. First, start off with, I'm gonna add these two mines to the system, because I can. And like I said, it'd just be easier. And I'm sure you're wondering, Alan, why exactly are you adding these two mines to the system? I mean, they're nothing more than coal mines. Why would you bother? Well, that has a very simple answer. Even though technically speaking they're just coal and gemstones technically, while they don't have much more value beyond that point, coal can obviously always become better because you can just turn it into rubies. So, yeah. That's why I'm going to mess about and add these to the system. Plus, speaking from experience, I know that I'm going to want a conveyor belt around this area anyways. So since I'm going to be wanting a conveyor belt around here anyways, I might as well just add this to the pile. And that'll be that. That's now on the system. Yeah, once you get used to the game, it becomes trivially easy just to, well, add stuff to the system. Once you set up the groundwork for all this work, you can just do the stuff with stuff like that and not even worry about doing anything extra. You can just add it onto the system and boom bam boom, you're done. Alrighty, we got more stuff here apparently. Yep. I am a little disappointed that we lost all the little, you know, collectible nodes. But it is what it is. It is unfortunately what it is. I can still just run around, collect stuff like that. Because thankfully, that stuff doesn't disappear. Ah, yes, and here's that little area I showed you last episode that I was thinking about messing about with. I don't think I will mess about with it just quite yet. I think I'll stick to how I normally do things, my normal gameplay loop. But as you can see, in this little cavern here, there's about 5 of them here. And I'm going to warn you right now, it's a good mix of gold, iron, and coal. That's all in this area. We'll get to it eventually, but not quite right now. I've got one more little area I want to sneak on into and show you, and that's this little secret area. Normally it'd be blocked off by some nodes you'd have to mine out. It's a little bit unfortunate that the nodes are no longer there, but here we are. This little hidey hole away from home area. Now this little area, I believe, is a mixture of, well, the same. Gold, iron, and coal. And I do have to say that it's not a half bad place. Of course, like I said, here is the other ruined elevator shaft that I told you about earlier. And I still truly believe that it would be a pretty cool thing to be able to go and have a second or a third drop box at each of these places. You know, something to dump late game cash into. That way, if you wanted to, you could just redirect all your stuff in this area to this one and have 3 different places you could be going and dumping resources into. Of course, like I said though, I don't mind how the system works right now. Realistically speaking here, like I said, I've developed the entire mine before. Gotten all the resources going in one direction, had all of the pipes, rods, plates being produced. I hadn't gotten to the mine Mogul quest yet, the very last quest. But I had gotten to the point where I was doing all 4 of these Mogul quests. Or I guess I shouldn't say I was. That save is... I still have that save, and I'm still playing on that save. The requirements are quite heavy. All it will take is just a test of time and patience. And I've got both in spades. So, yeah, that's how that's all set up. Now, as you might have noticed, this is a chest. Something they've put in with one of the new updates. Or maybe it's always been here and it's just been a work in progress. The main fun thing about these chests is, unlike, Minecraft chests or whatever, you can just put stuff in here, which is actually kind of fun and neat. But for this one specifically, you can indeed just take it. And I tend to do that. I tend to just decide to just take it. Because, as you already know, I have various resources that I am hoarding. In case I need to, well, set up a sorter. Gemstones and such. And obviously, now that I have it, I can just bring it back into my main area here. And I personally like to just toss it right here. This is where I like to just toss the, chest. Just right here. And then I take all the stuff that I'm wanting to keep. Mostly just my gemstones. And I put them in here for safekeeping. And also toss these in there, and I probably will. But it will make it a little bit of a pain in the dupa to get them moved out of here once it's time to rock and roll. But that'll be later on. I'm not too super worried about it. And then, once you're done, just shut the door. I will say you're going to want to be careful. You're going to want to be very, very careful. Because in this pause menu, you've seen me use this at least a dozen times or so. You can turn on and off every single one of your auto miners. You can obviously get yourself unstuck. You can disable the HUD, or you can clear physical or objects. Now this is misleading. It doesn't just clear the ores, it clears the ingots, the plates, the everything. Literally every physics object that you see here that is currently being thrown about willy-nilly, it will clear it. Just get rid of it. It will just clear all of this stuff. And not just the stuff that's on the belt, obviously. It will clear literally everything that's on the ground. The only thing it won't clear, boxes of stuff. And I can understand that, you know. You buy some expensive, really expensive shaker, and then suddenly you run off to go do something, forgetting to go pick it up out of the elevator shaft. And then you notice there's a huge backup of stuff, and you just can't be bothered to go clean it up. So you're like, okay, forget it. I'll just clear out all the physics objects. And then, oops, you just lost your shaker that you spent, you know, thousands of dollars to go and get. And now you gotta go and make all that back. You might not even have the money to go and make it back. So, yeah. I can understand why they did it. And don't get me wrong, very, very handy. Very, very cool. It's just, if you're like me and you like to hoard some stuff back to, you know, use it for swords and such, you might want to be careful about doing that. And as you can see, we got ourselves another explodey spark. Physics objects, of course. Not being able to handle everything. And here we are. Drop down here, you'll notice we're back in that cave again. And that is one of the reasons why I think it would be handy to have an extra box around here. Because it's basically already set up to where if they do that, you could basically separate your mine into 3 separate areas. The starting area, this far off corner, and then the cavern. If it was set up like that, and I'm not saying they have to, but if it was, then you could have 3 separate mine areas. And what's even more is if this game ever becomes like multiplayer or something, that would make it even funner, because then you could specifically set it up to where you could have 2 of your friends playing along with you, and suddenly they can go and mess about with their own part of the mine while you're messing about with yours, and you guys wouldn't even have to interact with each other if you don't want to. You wouldn't need to try to belt each other's stuff in between each other. I just think that that would be a little bit neat. Of course, don't get me wrong, I'm not exactly much of a multiplayer gamer myself, unfortunately. I'm just not very good at being competitive. So, I'm just throwing out ideas out there. But yeah, this is what I like about the game. Just running around, collecting stuff, collecting all this stuff, and just going on a bit of a journey, exploring. that's one of the main things I really like about what they did with one of these new updates. Is before, I don't know if it was this clogging update or the Christmas update, but before that, there wasn't nearly as many of these little side areas to go and explore. It was mostly just, you know, that one spot up there, maybe another spot in that cavern. But yeah, there weren't too many secret spots to go and run and explore into. But thanks to one of these new updates, now there is. And it makes the game feel a little bit more bigger, a little bit more filled in. And I just think that's neat. Alright, well, I think we messed about and we procrastinated a bit too long. So let's really quickly pump out the copper area. Now, as I said, this is a little bit of a small area, so nothing too serious or nothing too crazy to worry about. But I can set this up pretty easily because, well, it's handy. It's neato. And it'll make it a lot easier to do stuff in the future, if I've already got a bit of a baseline here. So, first what we do is we set up the little sorter area here. Aha. I was gonna say, I really hope I do have, I really do hope I have sorter stuff. Mhm. Okay. And I believe I'm going to just put the shaker table. Yeah, sure, let's put it over here. Ooh, that's not good. Oh well. Now, I'm not sure if I told you this earlier or not, but like I might have said in one of the previous episodes, is the shaker table here. Its only function is to basically shake out gemstones and such, rubies from coal. Crushed coal really isn't going to have much of a value in there. I think, honestly speaking, I think all it really does is go and all it really does is just go and okay. All crushed coal really does, if it gets dropped into the shaker, is I think it just gets deleted basically. I don't think it does anything special. I'm pretty sure that it can't be turned into gemstones. Could be wrong though. Have been before. Not gonna act like I'm a genius of everything. Not even gonna try. But this is kind of something that you could do with this if you wanted to make sure that you don't have to worry about, well, any of that nonsense with the coal and such. I'm gonna switch it around, in fact. Okay, there we go. Alright, so, game plan. The coal is going to come out the side, because that'll make it super easier. Then the crushed coal is going to go out this side. Way down here, the rubies are just going to be kicked out to the side. I could swap it around like I did down here, but realistically, honestly, I don't think I need to. I really honestly don't think I need to, so I'm not going to. And we bring all this stuff up here. And of course, ooh. Uh-oh. Well, that's fine. Simple way to solve that problem, that conundrum. Move it one tile forward. And there. Easy as pie. Now, with this setup going to be what it's going to be, like I said, it's always best to just merge stuff onto the same line. So don't worry too much about trying to don't just toss stuff on there. I mean, you can obviously, but I always worry about it suddenly deciding, you know what we're gonna do today? We're just gonna go and drop that straight through the floor. And I really, really don't like that. So, and there. Copper mines are set up. But, problem is, I just messed up. Because, if you come up here, yeah, sure, all this will be set up. But the problem is that, well, yep, right there, that's the problem. It's going to make enough copper to go and drop one out. Oh well. Oh, enough to drop two out apparently. Oh well. We just move these off to the side and we'll continue our work. And I will need to go back to the base to go and grab more conveyor belts. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You're always, always going to not have enough conveyor belts when you want them. Which is why I'm really, really happy that they allow you to stack more than 100 of these conveyor belts in your pocket. Truth be told, at the start, I didn't think you could go above 100. I figured that was probably going to be the hard limit that they set just to, well, just because of numbers and such, and because other early access games I've played tend to try to do that. I'm just glad that these guys didn't. Really glad that these guys chose not to. Alright, and that should be, yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. Now, like I said, this is going to be my main line all the way through to my main base. So, I like making sure that it has plenty of space on the sides. And of course, set up a polishing machine. And now, we start weaving through this little area. And like I've said before, verticality can be your best friend in this game. Because now, all I have to do is just go on over here. And that's that. Of course, honestly speaking here, I don't have to just do that. Truth be told, I can do something a little bit funner. I can do something like this. And there. I can do something like that, where now all of our various plates and such are going to come through here. And that's how we can do that. Of course, I'm not going to. The main reason for this is because while yes, I can do that, the main problem is that eventually I'm going to run out of I'm gonna start making plates and rods and pipes, and at least some of that's going to come down this line. So instead, I'm just gonna go and make this. I'm just gonna make a straight shot right through here, because as I said earlier, eventually, well actually I can do that right now if I wanted to, and I think I shall. Eventually what I can do is, I can just grab a blast furnace, and once all these are turned off, once there's no more coal coming through, making it difficult for me to swap it around, I'll be able to actually swap it around to where will be producing junk ingots. Like I said, I'm pretty sure junk ingots are more. Actually, I'm almost 100% certain that junk ingots are more expensive and more valuable than just the crushed coal used to make them. So it's always a good idea to just do that. Ah, there is a slight problem with what I just did, though. And that is, of course, this thing. But that can be easily rectified. That can be really easily rectified. Like I said, like I said, the junk ingots and normal ore, like pure ores, if you run them through a polishing machine, the polishing machine will just become dirty and unable to do anything. So just don't bother with it. I mean, you could if you wanted to specifically set up a polishing machine for it, if you wanted to, and maybe they might become polished. I don't know. I don't really care. I've never really tried, and honestly, like I said, just don't care. So, with all of that now set up, time to turn you on. Grab the very first piece of coal that comes through here. Pretty lucky. Okay. Grab this. Toss this in there. And while it's doing all that, I might as well just go grab the one of the rubies that I have. Hmm. Hmm. One of the bad things about the physics engine. And there. That all should be set up. Now it should be slowly making all of the junk ingots. Do have to watch out for low ceilings. Alright, and now this is all taken care of, so now we can just come on into here, grab you, and sort them out. Where did I put that thing? There you are. Okay. And now, since I've done that, I can just set this up, and now I don't have to worry about that little area things dropping off of it. So now we can turn all the miners on. And now, we've got copper, we've got the gemstones, and we've got the junk ingots being brought out. Actually, you know what? I have an extra one of these, and I'm curious. So I'm going to go and set one up there. I am almost certain that there's not going to be any super incredible, amazing increase in value for the junk ingots. But hey, maybe there is. And honestly, if I wanted to, we do still have this thing. So, yeah, you can just... And there it is. Polished ingots. Oh, here comes one through. Oh, well, what do you know? Polished. So, yes, they can be polished for some value. Let's see how much of a value. Oh, well, I'll just have to wait for one of the... Pretty slow. But then again, that's to be expected. And it's also not a half bad thing that it's slow, honestly speaking. Because, as you may have noticed, this does need a bit of time for it to go back for it to clean itself, basically. So if it was too fast, then it would probably be a little bit... How should I put this? It would be a bit difficult to get the junks polished quickly enough. Alright, first let's toss in the non-polished junk. Let's see how much the value is for this. Okay, 92 cents. What about the polished? 182 or 181. So basically doubled, same as everything else, it doubled it. But as you saw, they're not exactly super, 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 super expensive or super, super, super great. There's really no reason to put that much effort into the junk ingots because realistically speaking, they're probably never, ever, 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 ever going to be that useful. I mean, I do have one thing that can make them more useful. And that'll be this. Turning them into rods. Now, if you now remember that the ingots, even polished, was like $2 at best. Now with the rods, should... Oh, huh. I thought it was going to be better than that. Really, honestly, I thought it was going to be better than that. Well, what do you know? Look at me. I'm learning something new all day. So yeah, apparently it's not even worth it to go and make the slag rods. But that's alright. Honestly speaking, that's alright. I mean, I'm not going to bother making slag rods with this setup, but most likely when I do set up the iron over there, I will be setting up the slag rods just purely for my own benefit because you will need them for a quest. In fact, you'll need several different types of stuff for the quests later on. So obviously I'm going to be having to make slag rods for that quest, as well as having to make, these ingots. So I believe that is where we're going to leave this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you had a fun time, and sayonara.